Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Synthesis Workshop. I'm Matteo, and in today's Research Spotlight episode, we will host a presentation by Giulia Iannelli, postdoctoral researcher in Mauled group in Vienna. In this presentation, she will cover the Diastereoselective Umpolung cyclisation of ketones promoted by an hypervalent iodine reagent. Welcome, Giulia, and thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for the kind introduction. I'm super excited to be invited in the channel and share some of my work as a postdoc in the Mauled group. So today I would like to present on the Diastereoselective Umpolung cyclisation of ketones, which is mediated by hypervalent iodine. Firstly, let's take a step back. Umpolung is one of the cardinal points of chemical synthesis. When we talk about umpolung, we refer to the polarity inversion of a functional group. In the case of carbonyl compound, it is well known that due to their inert polarity, the alpha position is nucleophilic, while the carbonyl carbon is electrophilic. However, some derivatives follow a different pathway. For example, the reported thioketal can be used as nucleophilic C1 carbon after the protonation. Additionally, some umpolung reagents, such as the cyanide anion, which react as a C1 nucleophile, can transfer this umpolung reactivity through catalysis. On the other hand, redox umpolung involves a polarity inversion mediated by a reduction or an oxidation event. Iodine-3 reagents have been used to inverse the reactivity of C2 position of ketones by extracting 2 electrons from the enol tautomers. So, the formed enolonium species can be trapped by nucleophile while the iodine gets reduced. This enables a broad range of alpha functionalization reactions, but importantly, the enolonium behaves like an alpha carbonyl carbocationic synthon, and because of the intrinsic instability, it can, less often, engage in skeletal reorganization and migration reactions. As you can imagine, this pathway is much less explored since it requires very controlled conditions where the cationic charge ends up in a distal position from the carbonyl functionality, enabling distal functionalization with nucleophiles. Recently, we demonstrated the addition of an acylium ion to an alkene can generate a carbocation that is directed by quickly coordinating functional groups, a concept we called charge relocation, leading to the formation of an oxocarbenium ion. The same key intermediate, as well as the previously described carbocationic species, can be accessed using a selenoliter in combination with hypervalent iodine to promote the remote oxidation of cycloalkanes. Building on these considerations, we considered if using substrate as 1 and an umpolung event followed by 6-endotrigue cyclisation could provide a comparatively stabilized secondary carbocation, which would lead to the formation of the oxocarbenium as well. Once the oxocarbenium is formed, and after hydrolytic workup, we could obtain cis-1,3 disubstituted cyclohexanols. However, we anticipated several pitfalls: the absence of typically stabilizing factors such as the Thorpe-Ingold effect or electronic activation of the olefin, and the possibility of competing processes such as elimination, hydrolysis, alpha functionalization, or homocoupling. Today, I will show you how we overcome this issue, specifically how using an unconventional iodonium reagent enabled a stereoselective and regioselective umpolung cyclisation, giving cis-1,3 disubstituted cyclohexanols without the need for biasing groups. I will also share findings from both computation and experiment that clarify the underlying mechanism of this transformation. We started our study with substrate 1A and screening several iodine reagents. Under the conditions previously optimized in our group for the cyclopropanation of selenol ethers, no cyclided products were obtained, but only complex mixtures. Switching to iodosobenzene activated by TMS triflate gave small amounts of hydroxylated product 2A as a single diastereomer, but elimination and hydrolysis were still dominant. Other conventional iodine sources also failed to improve the outcome, highlighting the challenge of controlling side reactions. This led us to explore a dicationic class of iodine reagents. These reagents, first developed by Zefiro and co-workers, are obtained from iodosobenzene through condensation in the presence of an acid. What makes them so fascinating is their chemistry. Unlike many hypervalent iodine reagents, they carry non-nucleophilic ligand. As a result, they are strongly electrophilic and they don't require any external activators, reagents that almost always introduce unwanted nucleophilic or basic counteranions. Yet, apart from applications like enolate homocoupling, they had rarely been tested in more complex transformations. Testing different counteranions confirmed their promise. Side reactions were suppressed in all cases, and when we used reagent 6 with hexafluoroantimoniate as a counteranion, the desired product was obtained in 50% yield. Solvent screening then showed the system to be highly sensitive. Slightly changes completely shifted the product distribution between elimination, hydrolysis, and desired product 2A. The turning point came when we reconsidered reagent 6 itself. Since both iodine centers in the dimer could act as oxidants, a 1-to-1 ratio with the substrate effectively meant adding 2 full equivalent of oxidant, likely responsible for the undesired competing pathways. Reducing the loading to just 0.5 equivalent of reagent 6 made the difference, and the desired product was obtained in 60% yield with side reactions drastically reduced. With optimized conditions in our hands, we started to investigate the scope of this transformation, and at the beginning, we turned our attention to the effect of substitution on the aryl group of cylinder ethers. We observed that electron-withdrawing substituents, such as fluorine atoms or CF3 groups placed at different positions, were very well tolerated and delivered the desired compounds in good yields. Substrate bearing other halogens like chlorine or bromine, as well as bulkier groups such as terbutyl, also gave very nice results. Behind this, the reaction showed a broad functional group tolerance. Nitriles, esters, and ethers all worked. Even heteroaromatic motifs such as thiophene or furan reacted smoothly, further underscoring the versatility of the process. Interestingly, when we moved from aryl to fully alkyl substituted cylinder ethers, we observed a slight improvement in yield. These substrates afforded the cis alcohols in yields of 75 and 71%, which we attribute to their lower tendency towards hydrolysis. Finally, an alkyl enol ether carrying an enolizable position was tested, and even if more challenging, it still delivered the desired compound in 39% yield. Together, these findings highlighted the versatility of the reaction and motivated us to probe next the olefinic component of this cyclization. Interestingly, 1,1-disubstituted olefins provide highly effective, giving the tertiary alcohols in excellent yields with exclusive cis selectivity. This finding reinforced the strong stereo control and consistency of our approach. On the other hand, when we turned our attention to 1,2-disubstituted olefins and alpha-substituted cylinder ethers, the reaction failed to provide the corresponding alcohols, highlighting some limitation in the substrate scope. Notably, a surprising outcome emerged when we investigated a terminal Chem dimethyl substituted olefin. Instead of the expected alcohol product, we obtained, as a single diastereomer, the 1,4-diketone compound. These unexpected results likely arised from a complex domino sequence involving the Umpolung cyclisation, a 1,2 methyl shift elimination, and a final ring contraction. Such an outcome underscores the rich reactivities that can be accessed through this approach, revealing opportunities for further exploration. Building on our experimental observations, we sought to understand the reaction mechanism by performing computational studies and focusing on how the second equivalent of iodine source is able to engage in product formation, despite not being activated for nucleophilic attack. Our calculations show that the reaction begins with the formation of an adduct A between the selenoliter and the iodine species. This intermediate is then able to evolve to B, releasing iodosobenzene. The latter is able to promote a highly exergonic TMS abstraction, which gives intermediated C and decylated iodine species E. From here, an SN2 type cyclisation occurs, forming a 5-membered ring oxocarbenium and releasing iodosobenzene. This linear sequence consumes one equivalent of iodine source per substrate while generating E as a reactive species. Interestingly, the second equivalent of iodine participates through a secondary pathway. E interacts with another substrate molecules to form F, which then combines with a second E to generate the decationic intermediated G. This additional flexibility allows intramolecular TMS abstraction, forming intermediated H, which ultimately release compound 8 or the bis-3-methyl-silyloxide and regenerates E. This secondary cycle accounts for the observed 0.5 equivalent usage of reagent 6. In an attempt to corroborate our mechanistic proposal, we performed some experiments to verify the presence of some key intermediates. Nicely, 13 carbon NMR analysis of the crude reaction and before quench revealed signals consistent with the oxocarbenium intermediate, along with the clear detection of bis-trimethylsilyloxide. Subsequently, we investigated the reactivity of the oxocarbenium. Drawing from our previous experience with similar intermediates, we supposed that hydride shifts could allow equilibration within the cationic framework. To probe this, we synthesized a deuterium-labeled selenoliter and analyzed the resulting crude mixture. Interestingly, instead of observing exclusively the anticipated deuterated product, we also detected a regioisomeric cyclohexanol, where the deuterium atoms and the alcohol group occupy a 1,4 relationship. This outcome provides strong evidence for the occurrence of sequential hydride shifts within the oxocarbenium intermediate. It was not mentioned before, but the cis relationship is dictated by the oxocarbenium, which is attached by the OH- that comes from the workup, exclusively on the C1 carbon following this hemiacetal pathway. Now I arrived at the last slide of my presentation, and I would like to thank Professor Mauled for having me as a postdoc in his group and for his constant support. I would like to thank Dr. Kaiser, Dr. Spies, Dr. Meireles and Dr. Mariasin for being amazing co-workers, and of course all of the Mauled group for being so nice people and for the amazing scientific discussions. Thanks to Matthew for inviting me and all of you for your kind attention.
Thank you, Giulia, for sharing your project with our community, and thanks everybody for watching. Stay tuned for more videos on Synthesis Workshop. See you next time!